Welcome to the Health Fix podcast, where health junkies get their weekly fix of tips, tools, and techniques to have limitless energy, sharp minds, and fit physiques for life.
Hey, health junkies. On this episode of the Health Fix podcast, you get me, Dr. Jannine Krause. And I wanted to do this podcast as the end of the year of 2024 podcast, but as you could probably hear, I got sick. And here's my sexy voice for you. Now, this is probably a once in a lifetime chance that you'll get to hear this, I hope. Gosh. And chances are a lot of people are sick right now. And you're like, hey, what can I do? We'll talk a little bit about that. Now, I wanted to talk about some lessons learned from 2024 in terms of a big recap. And I want to thank you guys first for listening to the Health Fix podcast. This is a labor of love. I enjoy just chatting, and I love getting the email feedback from you guys about what you want to learn and certain podcasts that you've liked. Now, of course, if you are not on my email list, jump over to my website at Dr. spelled out, JKRAUSEND. So N is in Nancy, D is in dog.com. And scroll all the way to the bottom and join my email list. I send out about 3 emails a week with information, highlights on the podcast, and you're always going to learn something from every email that I put out there. So let's talk a little bit about these big things I learned in 2024. Now, one of the big ones is we are being inundated, myself included, with information on social media, online, in our email boxes about what to do about our health. Everybody has an opinion on one thing or the other, and I do too. But here's the thing. The only opinion that really matters is yours and your bodies. And we'll talk about that a little bit today on how to find that answer from yourself. Because with all the noise out there, I'm really aiming towards teaching folks how to understand their body's messages and what your body really needs in the moment. If you've been following me on social media, you may have noticed a shift in my messaging, where I'm talking about you need to go within. You can't look outside of you for answers to your health, especially when you have something that has been going on chronically. If you got hit by a car, yes, you need help outside of yourself, like emergency care. But if, say, you've been dealing with fatigue, you've been dealing with hormone issues, you've been dealing with mood stuff, and it's gone on for a long time, or gut issues, and you've tried all kinds of things, we need to be looking from within. And the biggest one, weight loss. For the love of God, we need to look within on this. Yes, it's not my favorite subject to talk about because I struggled myself for many years, and we'll get into it. How about that? Now, biggest lessons I've learned, my notes kind of fell down, so you're going to see me bring up my little paper here. Inundation. Just check that box. Next, fear. There's a lot of fear. I like to call it fear porn out there because so many people want to be drastic so they go viral, or they want to be fear-based so that they can stand out in the wellness industry because it's a noisy space. But are we helping people by scaring people about their food, their air, their water? I mean, I've done it. Like, I've talked about it. You can go back on podcasts. I've talked about the things that are possibly contributing to health issues. But I don't want it to be creating a problem where we're like paralyzed with what do we even eat. And I'm going to share my personal story with the food and why I'm kind of changing my tune on, oh man, have I created a problem here? Because there's so much fear with parasites and whatever the treatment du jour is right now, or the condition du jour is, which it's parasites, and a lot of it is going into the nervous system stuff, which I think is great to look at and important. But the fear stuff is overwhelming. So we're going to go into that. And the last thing, and I've already kind of alluded to it, is learning to trust your body, trust yourself. And today I'm going to teach you some tools that you can implement in real time to start being able to communicate with your body to know, is this food good for me or not? Versus, oh my gosh, don't eat cabbage, cauliflower, and broccoli because you have a thyroid condition. Trust me, if I could meet someone that would eat enough cabbage, cauliflower, goitrogenic foods, as they're called, to actually impact their thyroid, I'd be shocked. Downright shocked. It takes a lot to eat stuff that is going to affect the thyroid when it's a natural food. Now, of course, could there be pesticides in the food affecting things? Yes. Is that a fear thing? Yes. Can I go to, oh my gosh, I can talk for hours on that. So let's start with how to look at information coming at you. And because we're all inundated and a lot of it's fearful, how do we look at it and go like, is this something I need to pay attention to or not for me? Because I hope, looking at a lot of the things that are out there, people are well-meaning. They're trying to educate. And yes, some are being a little more dramatic to catch your attention. Because in marketing classes for online business, we are taught to stand for something and stand out and make a bold statement. And my bold statement to you is that you need to trust yourself and what's being put at you. Because yes, lots of things are problematic for the body, but does it all apply to you and you need to be neurotic? Maybe not. Depends on where you are. And this is where I am turning my practice to and turning everything to with this podcast too, because yes, my podcast is called The Health Fix, but I didn't ever mean it to be that there's anything to fix. It's getting your fix like a junkie. That's why I say health junkies, because I'm hoping that all of you are interested in your health for good reason here. But I'm not wanting to make that distinguishment that we all have things to fix. It's more optimize and adjust, and learning what your body wants is part of that. So how do we get started on being able to trust our bodies, right? And their opinion. Because in perimenopause, menopause, the number one thing I hear from people is my body has betrayed me. I've gained weight and I've ate perfectly. I work out 8 times a day. I mean, I'm being dramatic, of course, but I have seen people that really do lots of things that are nuts to try to get weight off, and then it just backfires. So here I am talking about weight, my least favorite subject. What have I learned in trusting my body? It's everything. And so let me tell you a little story. This year has been probably the craziest health year for me. I have had more digestive issues all year in 2024 than I could ever imagine. And I have multiple things. I'm going to show you kind of what I had to do to figure out which direction to go. Because as a doc and a naturopathic doc, I'm inundated by different programs, supplement companies telling me this protocol is going to help with this. This protocol is going to help with that. But then I give people something, it doesn't work. I get frustrated and I go, why not? Why do things not work for people? Because my number one thing is getting results. It doesn't work because we didn't go back to what does that person's body need? And the same thing was needing to be applied to me all along. And so as my gut progressively decided to get really funky on me, I went through all the different protocols and different things, and I was having more and more issues. I mean, to the point where I was beginning to wonder if I needed to not leave my house. Let's put it that way. So, because I do like to leave my house, I had to figure something out. And really, it's coming down to my body's trying to tell me a message when I have symptoms. And the same thing applies to you guys. When you have symptoms, your body's telling you something. It's like, hey, I don't like this, or you're doing something I don't like. It's not trying to defy you. It's not trying to make you mad. It's like, yo, hey, I'm over here and I need something. Instead of throwing a protocol at it, consider what is up. What is your main symptom? So I'm going to take you through a little scenario that I started going through to learn what my body really wanted. Because stool testing, food sensitivity testing, all kinds of lab tests were really showing me nothing. Until, of course, I did an autoimmune panel and learned that I was in the beginning stages of lupus. What? Yeah, no, not happening. Not happening. That, no, we're not going there. And I've turned people around from that in my practice. So I know, like, okay, autoimmune on a low level showing up in your labs. Okay, great. This is your body saying, yo, it's time to do something and it's time to learn to communicate with me. And this is the lesson of 2024 for me that I want you guys to really understand. Because it's tied into inundation, it's tied into fear because we're inundated, we're given all this fearful information. And at the end of the day, your head sometimes can be left swirling as to WTF, what do I do? And 17 years in a practice here and struggling for an entire year with my digestive system, with pain, with trying to figure out my system. Crazy, but it was a lesson. I had to learn that I am in control of my health and I can communicate with my body. I had left that out of the equation. And probably you've heard some of my solo podcasts this year, if you've been a longer term listener, where I talked about listening to yourself. And I started to learn that midway through, and that was the start of my process. And I didn't want to share until I fully had this like, this is what I need to teach. And this is the I need to teach moment, how to trust yourself. So I was dealing with chronic diarrhea, sometimes 11 plus bowel movements a day. Yeah, crazy stuff. So what did I do? I went, okay, is there what is going on with my body? The first way to work with this. So those of you who are listening audio, you're not going to see the video, but I highly recommend going over to YouTube and checking out YouTube or Rumble for this episode because you will be able to see what's going on. It's episode 532. Now, I take my two fingers and make a loop, a circle with them, and I put my fingers together like this, kind of interlocking. And what this is creating a nice little link. This link is how I muscle test. You can also stick your hand out in front of you and press down on it like this, asking it questions. That works too. If your arm is strong and it doesn't dip, I realize I have a background blur. There we go. If your arm is strong and it doesn't dip, that means no. If it or it's like I'm good, and if it drops down, that's the like here's the issue. So I asked my body, and this is what you can do with every single condition you have. You can go, is my gut issue structural? Okay, that was a yes. Is my gut issue a virus? No. Parasite? Is it a food thing? Is it a food sensitivity? Yes. Not a food thing, but a food sensitivity. Now, my food thing, what does that mean? Food thing means, is it like glyphosate? Is it seed oils? Is it chemicals? Is it dyes? No. And it's probably my body's gonna say no to that because I don't eat those things. Now, is it I said parasite? Is it a amoeba? Is it a yeast? Mold? Okay, we got a little mold. Yeast? Mold. Okay, so we got that. Now that's new. That didn't show up before. Sometimes these things will kind of pop up. So you've asked yourself all those things. And in my case, I've got that we have a structural issue. We have a sensitivity to food issue. And we have possibly some sort of mold thing popping up. Not candida, mold. So we just redid my basement. We were working on a lot of mold remediation in terms of moisture on the walls. I am in my basement where my new podcast room is. That makes sense in this respect. Now for you, that this is where we test these things and check. This interlinking between your two fingers, it may seem super bad shit. I know. I didn't do this. Well, I tried muscle testing years ago and I was like, this is just weird. I can't concentrate. It's not working. But the more I got used to it, the more I did it, the more I started to practice on it for patients, the more I got comfortable with it throughout this year, the more I've realized this is what folks need to learn to be able to understand what their body needs and what their body is like saying yes and no to. Not good or bad, just yes or no. And that's first step. Is it structural? Is it parasite, virus, bacteria, yeast, mold? Is it, a food issue in terms of ingredient, or is it a sensitivity? Ask yourself that. Now, all of this applies to any health condition. You could go down the line for whatever it is. That's step one. And by the way, all of this will be in the podcast notes at drjkrauseND.com. So that's step one, figuring out where it is on what level. Now, because I have the structural component, what that means is something's going on with my lining and how my body is functioning. Now, you can even muscle test. Is it functional? Now, you can see if you're watching this, I do get a yes on a functional. So functional, structural, same thing. So functional means enzymes. And the question becomes, what enzyme am I needing here to help me with my digestive system? So you can do this at home. I have a bottle of apple cider vinegar here. And what you do now is you stand shoulder width apart and you put the item that you want to test to see if that's a right protocol for you to your chest. And you see if you lean backward, you see if you stay neutral, or if you lean forward. This is called the tilt test. This is verifying what product to use. And this will change daily in some cases. Other cases, it stays stable, but it gives you a direction to head in. So, apple cider vinegar, commonly used to help with digestion. I put it on my chest. What happens? I lean forward. And it's within seconds. You put it on you, and you can, and I'm going to turn it aside for those of you guys watching. You put it on your chest, and you can see me slightly going forward. It's not a big forward, but it's slightly. So, okay, that could be helpful. Now, another big thing with digestion is using something called betaine hydrochloric acid. So I put that on my chest. I stand shoulder width apart. You kind of shake it out for a second. You don't want anything else in your hands, just the thing that you're going after. Put it in your chest. And if you go forward, then you need it. If you lean backward, your body's like, nah, it's either no, not today, or not part of the protocol. So I put it here. I actually lean back a little bit. So you'll see me on the video going backwards a little bit. Now, here's another thing to keep in mind. You want the cleanest supplement you can find in this case. This one isn't the cleanest. I had it in my cabinet because I was using it as a backup when I couldn't find anything else at the store and I needed some help with my digestive enzymes. My actual preferred stomach acid booster is something called HCL Guard by Healthy Gut. Now, because they don't sell this in a regular store, you have to buy it online. It's kind of a bummer, but it is a way to help you test, like, could this be helpful for you? So I put these to me, I go forward. So I'm going to stand to the side here. I wiggle my feet. I go forward with it. This is good stuff for me. Now, you can do this with all the supplements in your cabinet. If you are someone who has like a load of supplements like I do, you can try this out and see what's good for you, bad for you that particular day. You could do this every morning. But for all intents and purposes, I'm going through a sequence of what I would do for my gut. Now, because I like Healthy Gut, here's another one. This is Holozymes. These guys are not stomach acid, but they are pancreatic enzymes. And to help the digestive system, a lot of times we'll need some pancreatic enzymes too if we've got chronic diarrhea. In fact, for a lot of people with chronic diarrhea, a combination of stomach acid and pancreatic enzymes can be useful, but you don't know till you really try it. So how do you know the difference between stomach acid boosters and pancreatic enzymes? Pancreatic enzymes are lipase, amylase, and different peptidases. There also could be things like cellulase, sucrase, alpha tosidase, maltase, xylanase, phytase, things of that nature. Those are pancreatic. If we're looking at something that is a support for helping you boost your stomach acid, that is betaine hydrochloric acid. And it may have some pepsin in it, like this one has pepsin. So that's strictly helping stomach. Now, there are formulas that have both together. I don't have a together formula for the reason that I felt like maybe I needed to find one thing versus the other, depending on the day or depending on the food. Pancreatic enzymes are great for fats and carbs, and betaine hydrochloric is great for meats if you're struggling with that. Now, those are differentiations. But back to the process, we're going to test, okay, what happens with pancreatic enzymes in me? Nothing, I slightly go forward. But you want to be looking like what happens in the quick second that you put it on you. And nothing happens. I don't tend to go forward. I don't tend to go back, meaning I'm neutral to it. I could take it or leave it. So I do use it as part of my protocol, but it's a take it or leave it kind of thing. Now, there are other supplements that can help the digestive system, like tributrin, which is butyrate, which is a fuel for the intestinal lining. I mean, you could go down the whole list. You probably heard of colostrum. There's a lot of different brands. It's kind of hot right now for helping support the immune system. You could test that on yourself. You could test probiotics. You could test kombucha. You could test kefir, yogurt. You could go down the line of all the things that you know are useful for the digestive system and see how your body responds. Glutamine is an amino acid for the gut. You could test that. You could walk around a natural food store and like test all the gut stuff and just see what happens. Like what does your body lean into? What does it go? No, thank you. The more drastic the response, the more put it back on the shelf. So I love this testing kind of thing. Now, for a lot of people, they're like, I am not going to stand in a store and keep picking up things and putting it to my chest. That's just weird. Okay, fair enough. Here's a way you can do it and not have to muscle test, but do get an answer as well. So say you're looking at a shelf and you're going to pull something off the shelf. If you can quiet yourself and not be on the phone at the same time, not be talking to someone right next to you and just bring this in and look at it and ask yourself, do I want this? Yes or no? Little voice will pop in and say yes or no. And so literally you grab the thing off the shelf, act like you're looking at the ingredients and say yes or no. If you slow down enough and you practice this enough, your body will actually tell you. Same thing goes with, say, you're ordering food. You're looking at a menu and you're like, do I want this? You're going to get a quick answer. It's crazy how fast your subconscious mind is. It's going to say yes or no right away. Like, for example, do I want apple cider vinegar? My body says no. Okay. You know, it's quick. It seems odd. It seems super odd. I understand. And if you're a Midwestie like me and kind of should have been from Missouri, the show me state, it is bizarre. It took me all year to fully, I'm going to call it, embrace again, listening to myself, slowing down and listening to myself and not looking outside for answers and solutions. So the more you can teach yourself to trust yourself when it comes to your health, the better outcomes you're going to have. Now, am I saying replace doctors? I mean, you may be able to in certain cases. This is why I always ask my patients when I'm working with them or clients when I'm working with them, I'm saying, like, does this resonate with you? What does your body say? And I know for a lot of people, you may be at a case where you're like, I'm so disconnected, I don't know. I challenge you to slow down. Take time to learn to talk to yourself. You don't have to talk out loud. It's more just slowing down and asking your inner self, like, what do I want? You can apply this to anything, no joke, in life. And I have. But when it comes to health, it's impressive what kind of answers you can get when you practice this over time. Now, here we are just heading into 2025, but all 2024. I had to take all year to figure this out and really, really decide, does this work? Does it not? And I know I've presented this to some of my clients and they're like, I don't know if I could do it. Okay, fine. If it's not for you, it's not for you. But know that how are you going to get around all of the information? It's just going to keep happening. You're going to keep getting pop-ups on social media that are like, buy this weight loss thing, try this gut magical probiotic, try this, try that. You're going to listen to podcasts that are going to have commercials where folks like me are saying, I love this product. It's so amazing. But is it right for you? You got to ask. You got to take the time and ask yourself. It's the only way to know. And there are, like I said, going to be a lot more fear things showing up over time. Hopefully we'll get down to being able to take care of not having so many chemicals and dyes and junk in our food, because I don't think it's good. But in my case, I've got to the point where I barely eat out because my gut was causing so many issues and pain and things of that nature that I didn't know what it was going to do. And so I did become afraid to eat and became afraid of certain foods and, got into this fear and pain loop and going, oh God, I don't know if I should eat that because last time this happened or last time that happened. And when I started asking my body, do you want this? And individual things like, do you want a potato? Do you want a carrot? It seems dumb, but I would ask the whole entire meal or whatever was on a menu if I was actually going to order something off a menu. And I had to go with like trusting my intuition. And the times that I didn't do it, I would feel worse. And the times that I asked myself, I was like, okay. Now, you could also argue that I'm creating a whole fear loop if you can't ask yourself, you haven't practiced enough. No, I don't want that. I want you to practice knowing your own intuition because it is the one thing you have against all of the stuff coming in and not knowing who to trust. Because yes, there are fly-by-night supplement companies. There's big pharma supplement companies with chemicals and things and stuff in them. There's a lot of folks just trying to get information out to you and they're using fear. And now it's kind of scary to drink your own water, right? How do you know if you need to filter your water? I mean, you can test it. There's things you can do to end this fear cycle. And you can test your water. You can ask yourself, is this safe for me? And if it says no, then it's like, okay, filter it. And same thing goes with all of the protocols out there, all of the health people out there, even me. Ask yourself, do I like this chick? Do I trust her? And if it says no, then hey, that's okay. You listen to yourself. At the end of the day, what I learned from 2024 with clients and myself and my own health issues is I had to learn to trust what my body was telling me and the direction I was going. And it's really popular right now to blame a lot on the nervous system. And the truth is, yes, our nervous systems are inundated and overwhelmed, but we can turn them around if we start to communicate with ourselves. It's not a quick process, but it's not super long either. It's just a matter of committing to taking the time. And so I've showed you a little trick of what I've been doing, the muscle testing, the asking, the tilt test. And I'll put a good outline of how to do it there in my podcast notes at drjkrauseND.com. And I hope that what I've learned in 2024 about myself and my clients will help you to think about how you can navigate your own health and optimize your own health in 2025. Because really, this is the year to go within. This is a year to learn how to trust yourself and really know what's best for you. No one else is going to be able to tell you that information. No doctor is going to do that. No coach is going to do that. They're going to guide you. And with everything coming at us, this day and age, it's time. It's time to learn that you have all the power inside of you to be able to discern what's best for you. And sure, I went through kind of a complicated protocol of what I would do with the gut. And I don't expect anybody to 100% know which direction to go on protocols and things. But the point is, you can start this process because all of these different supplements and things are all categorized at different stores. So you can start the process that way. Even with your multivitamins and things you have at home right now, you could see what resonates with you and what, like, if you get really pushed back, that's a hard no. If it's a slight pushback, it may not be for today. If it's a slight forward, it may be okay today. If it's a big move forward, it's like, yes, please. And I don't want folks to necessarily look in their supplement cabinet and start pitching everything. It's more asking yourself, tilt test, ask yourself, is it right for you? So that's a lot of info back and forth in terms of looking at your own health. And I hope that this has inspired someone to really take a step back from feeling overwhelmed and fearful about what to do next with your health. Turn within, ask yourself, start practicing it one day at a time. And in no time, you will realize how much your body has to say about things and what direction it'll guide you in. Trust yourself. You got this. Stay tuned for more podcasts like this coming up in 2025. And by all means, if you like this podcast, make sure you like, subscribe, share with your friends, and send me a message. And on my website, I've got a whole form info form there you can fill out and let me know what you think. And if you have questions, I'm happy to some podcasts out on it because you're going to get a lot more of me by myself this year as we move into 2025. And last but not least, I am joining in with my girlfriend, Laura Connor, up at the Center for Human Restoration in Crandon, Wisconsin. And we are going to be developing some cool stuff here in 2025. And I'll bring her on the podcast here soon so that you guys can meet her and learn about all the stuff we're up to and inspire you to look within and take charge of your health. All right, everybody, have a great day, whatever you're doing.
Hey, fellow health junkie, thanks for listening to the Health Fix podcast. If you enjoyed tuning in, please help support me to get the word out about the podcast. Subscribe, rate, and review, and just get that word out. Thanks again for listening.